So yeah, I'm probably going to tell Ruth to open the floor because with your questions.
Okay. Hi everyone. Um, what's the word? So I think I mentioned I had spoken with Joshua about my interest in data analysis some time ago, and at the time I really just started. So I mean, because of work, I've not a few things. However, I have some questions with respect to how to stay consistent and when having difficulties. So I will just itemize some of my questions and how to, well, I say roadmap now,
Okay.
because I know that in every field, data analysis is being used in whatever unit, so to speak, or in whatever industry.
Yeah.
So even if maybe what I'm currently doing, I probably I'll always need it as a product, as an engineer, whatever it is. So I started with Excel, just to give like a little background so that before I started with Excel, which I knew is like the primary application to use to start, or maybe fundamental or basics really. And I think it was pretty going okay, but I where I'm having issues now is in Power BI, in visualization, and I tried over time and feel like I'm not, because I think I'm not a creative person, because I feel like with visualization there's some level of creativity that comes with it. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know why I think so or think like that, but I feel like there's a level of creativity that comes with it, and I'm not able to just put the whole things together. So my first question will be, when you have a large data set, how do you identify what you're, for someone practicing now, maybe for an organization, again, for anybody really, how do you identify what you're looking for, what results you're trying to give to your business owners, for example? So how do you identify these are the things you need to look for, do in this particular data set? So you can have random data and say, okay, you're trying to look for where they have what region is making more sales, where they're making less sales, or something like that. How do you determine what to do, what steps to take? And if you know that there'll be calculations involved from time to time, then you need to probably break the dates in by day and by month and by year.
Sorry to butt in. I think you're touching on very diverse points, so maybe we'll just streamline one at a time. Don't worry, I'm here for you. So all your questions will be answered to the best of my knowledge. So I think your first point was around staying consistent. Can I speak to that?
Yes, please.
All right. So when you start, it's just like any venture at all. Anything you're learning or anything you're doing, consistency is not an easy thing to do, right? It's very difficult. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes intentionality for you to stay consistent. So if you say you want to learn how to play piano, for instance, you have to set a goal, like, this is what I want to achieve. Set a timeline. Give yourself that timeline. This is how long it should take me to attain this particular height in playing the keyboard. I'm going to use that as an example. Then you have to specify the outcome, the vision, the reason why you are actually embarking on this journey. What do you want to do? Do you want to gain a new capability? Do you want to use it in your work? Do you want to use it in relaxing, or do you want to use it to make money? All of this will now culminate what your motivation is. Because trust me, without a motivation, a set goal, and a specific timeline, staying consistent can be very difficult. So it goes beyond just data analytics or anything. So with data analytics, if you want to stay consistent, there has to be a goal. What are you trying to become? Then there has to be like a timeline. Okay, I want to give myself 1 year. to become a data scientist or a proficient data analyst that can do XYZ. And why do you want to do it? I want to become better at my job, better at making decisions, better at giving data-driven or empirical insights to my employer or to my line manager or to my unit, for instance. So all of that would now form the baseline of your motivation to stay consistent. Then another way to stay consistent is accountability. So if you've got somebody you're accountable to, or you create content around what you're learning, you see people doing some things like 30 days of data analysis, 30 days of something. It is a way of staying consistent. Why do they come out to announce that? It's because they want to be accountable. So every day they put in the work, they make it an obligation to put something out there about data analysis, all the while staying consistent at it. So for me, I would just say if you're going to live here with anything that would help you stay consistent, live with these three things. The first is setting a goal. What do you want to become at the end of the day? What is the destination? The second is setting a timeline, because anything that is open-ended and not time-bound can just fall off and get deprioritized, because any other thing that comes up urgent takes priority. So having a set boundary of time would help you stay focused and consistent. Then having your motivation, like why are you doing it? What would this help you do? Yes, you have your goal, you know what you want to become, you know how long you want to take to become it. Why are you even bothered to do it in the first place? So I think those three things can help you stay consistent. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's not like something new. I think it's just actually setting your mind to doing it, or maybe writing it. I think the one thing I probably not do is write it down. And I think that is what, like you said, I've made it. It's been open ended as opposed to closed. Yeah, that makes sense.
So close the end and stay committed to the goal, and have accountability system or framework. It could be like, maybe every month I want to release a data dashboard for something I've done, or every month I want to create a report, or every week I want to create a report. It's like setting some specific milestones that you are accountable to keep you consistent. That would really help. Trust me, everybody has been where you are. Everybody would experience what you're experiencing on anything at all. But I believe with these three major things, goal, timeline, and your motive for doing it, I think it will help you to stay consistent. So what's the second question you wanted to ask? Sorry, I had to mute you because there's some background noise coming from you. In the meantime, Tosin, you probably would want to put down some of your questions, and then once the time is right, you could throw it in.
Okay, sorry about the background noise. Please confirm it's still.
Yeah, it's better. It's quite better.
It's better. Okay, sorry. Okay, so the other question was with respect to data visualization. So no, before that, let me just go to how to determine or how to interpret the results you're looking for. When you have like a data set, how do you choose what you want to do, or determine what you want to do, or what kind of data visualization you want to have? I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I got you now. I remember because there's a way I articulated it in my head, and I just needed you to remind me. So yes, defining objectives. When you are doing a data visualization, you just don't go out there. It's just like having a rifle and you have a uniform like a khaki belonging to a soldier or military. You can't just go out to war without a specific directive. Like, what are you trying to achieve by going to the war? Are we trying to keep peace? Are we trying to annihilate people? Are we trying to do a coup? Whatever. There has to be an objective. The same thing applies to data analytics. So if you're about to do a visualization, say for instance your boss at your workplace calls you and says, oh, I noticed that we've been getting, maybe you're monitoring support for instance, and I want to know what kind of support we get the most over the period of 6 months. What kind of support comes up the most? Give me the top 3. support requests. Like, is it request for a hardware? Is it request for a software install? Is it, oops, my laptop has crashed? Is it? So you want to create that visualization. Now, this is like the information they want to see. Now, they have to go a step further. Your line manager or your boss has to go a step further to tell you why they need that report created. It's not just about getting the top 3 most frequent support requests, IT support requests. It is now about, okay, we want to identify those top 3 and see if we can create a lasting solution to cut down on our cost on operation, because you're going to be spending time addressing, maybe there is a particular software that always needs updating or keeps crashing, and then people are creating IT tickets for that. You want to create a long-lasting solution that wouldn't require you allocating full-time engagement or full-time employment into that. Like 10 hours is gone just resolving the same issue, and you're doing the same for like 200 people. We want to cut down our cost by eliminating that problem, maybe by changing it or doing something else with whatever software is becoming problematic, right? And then improve efficiency of the team. So this gives you both the objective and the outcome for that objective. Now, why this is important for you as a data analyst is that you are not a code monkey, like we say. Just create a report that tells me the top 3. Anybody can say that, and anybody can just do it. But you become stuck in trying to visualize data or accurately telling the story. So in data visualization, it goes beyond aesthetics, it goes beyond beauty and creativity, which was what I was trying to debunk from what you said. Maybe you're not very creative and as such, or you think you need some next level creativity to create good data visualization. No, it's about understanding the objective and the expected outcome. So if you understand the objective is to get the top 3, the expected outcome is that they want to use it for something that would save cost and all that. What you could do beyond just getting the top 3 is to also maybe analyze in comparison with peak season. Is there a particular reason why this top 3 is happening at this particular point? So if you are doing a trend analysis for like 6 months, what 6 months are you considering? Do you want to compare 6 months from January to June, or you want to compare 6 months from March to September, for instance? Right? Do you want to overlap it to see, okay, is there a particular trend? Is it going to be still these 3 top requests? Will it be consistent if I'm comparing 2 separate 6-month periods? Now, you wouldn't ask yourself this question if your boss had just said, give me the top 3. You would just do this, what he has said or she has said. Just give them the 6 months trend of what requests have been coming through and through. But if they've told you that we want to cut down costs, you as a data analyst now know that there are many moving parts to why something might be the most frequent thing. Maybe it could just be a peak season kind of thing, or maybe it's just that the software has just been installed in the last 6 months, and so that software has been problematic. You haven't really established the standard operating procedure, so people are always running into problems or errors. And then if you had done it for 6-month timeline that backdates these 6 months that you're considering, maybe from March to September, but you want to look at, okay, from January to June, you would realize that what stood as the topmost might not be the topmost. I hope I'm making sense, because you're trying to overlap and see what is actually taking up costs. Then you may want to go a step further to say, okay, let me even do a third time box. So you have the first time box that is January to June, another time box that is December to May, and another time box that is November to April. And then you just overlap them and say, okay, in this first time box we have these 3 tickets, in this second time box we've got these 3 tickets, in this third one. Then you compare against and say, okay, this is predominantly high across the board, and that way you are now making more value, you're making more sense in delivering the objective of the data visualization. The second part is it also informs you what kind of visuals would provide immediate information that your boss needs. Do you want to do a pie chart? Would pie chart tell you anything? I mean, pie chart is good for looking at proportions, so you would not go by a pie chart. Do you want to just do a bar chart to show the frequency modulation of different tickets? So all of that information would inform you, like, okay, how do I represent this data? And then you look at it, what is it that my boss is looking out for? It is just one data point, which is you could refer to it as bivariate. So you have two variables, the frequency of tickets and the timeline. So you can have something that is on a two-dimensional axis to say, okay, in this month, about this ticket, this is how much we have over this particular time. Or do you want to overlap them like an area chart? So basically, I wouldn't go into the details, but basically getting the objectives should come from whoever is calling the shots, making the decision at the end of the day, because they know why they need that objective. They know what exactly it fits into. They know what kind of decision that data is meant to back. So it is not your job exactly to go digging and okay, what are the objectives? What should I do? It should be your job to understand the objective. Yes. Ask them the right questions. Yes. Get the outcome from that objective from them. Yes. And then use that information to now determine, okay, knowing all I've known from this particular task, how do I represent this data? What kind of data should I do? And then you keep exploring and making changes until you arrive at something that once you look at it, it gives you the exact thing that you want. Take for instance, if you are now bringing up the top 3, you want to also maybe rank them by the dates or how long it takes to resolve, or give some further information that will help make an accurate decision, not just giving the 3 top tickets that have been frequent on the IT support desk. So this is just an example, but yeah, that's how I would approach it. It is not entirely your job to define the objective, but it is your job to harness from whoever is calling the shots what the objectives are and what the expected outcome is. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, that's right. I was going to ask about that, but then you've already highlighted it. Thank you. I mean, that makes sense. Once we're given a task, we have to ask more questions about it before proceeding to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to be the one asking questions. I don't know if any person has a question to ask.
I mean, we could move around if you've got more questions. So let's see if other people have got questions that tallies with yours, and then I'm pretty sure what you've asked is also relevant to the others that are on the call, and what they would ask should also be relevant to you. So yeah, I'm happy to toss the ball around.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so you could just write the other questions down if you haven't already, and then I'll come back to you. Is that fine?
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi. Welcome.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. Okay, basically for me, it's just I'm here to actually learn. I'm an educator, and I jump on every opportunity to, and I think I've discussed this with Josh at some point. I jump on every opportunity to learn more about what's relevant for these kids that we're raising. And I think I was on a webinar quite recently where, everything that was spoken was just around data. The world is going techie, and data is a key component for what the children should be learning in school. It's actually a primary elementary school, and I'm just here to learn as much as possible. So there's no question in particular from my end, but basically maybe one question is, what are the kind of things we should be teaching or exposing these children to in school currently in order to expose them to the world of data? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very brilliant question, because this underpins the whole essence of data analytics, right? I think a good place to start is to let them understand the essence of data, how that everything banks on data. Data is information in its raw state. So the point of transiting data to information is where a data analyst comes in. or whoever, maybe a data engineer that creates and pulls together that data in a more reasonable format and all that. But the point I'm making is, at some point, I believe, and I strongly believe this, that data analysis would be a key competence, not just a profession. So like what Ruth highlighted in passing the other time is that many roles require data analysis. It is relevant to everything. And like what you've said as well, the world is moving to the tech space. I would say the world has already moved to the tech space. We are now moving to another age of artificial intelligence and all that. Everything is based on data still. The technologies that are being used are mining and engineering data. Like if you're on WhatsApp, you've downloaded Instagram, you're on Facebook, everything you're uploading, every chat you're making is contributing to a plethora of data that has already been gathered over the years. So a good way to start is to let the kids understand that technology as it stands is either leveraging existing data and or creating new data. So if you launch a new software application tomorrow, even if it's a gaming system, you're creating behavioral patterns in the game players. This is collecting data. What kind of characters are game players creating? You see how they optimize the games is by understanding what the users are doing with those games. And how do you understand what the users are doing if you don't have data to tell you exactly what they are doing? So the whole essence of trying to dig through data, in fact, the whole essence of gathering data in the first place, trying to dig through it, is so that we can understand and make data informed. By data informed, I mean evidence-based decisions. So data gives you evidence. People say data do not lie, and I believe that is true. If you have collected that data in the right format, so there's the point of how do you collect data? What kind of data are you collecting? What data should you be interested in? What is your fear of missing out? What are you losing? We say opportunity costs, or what are you losing if you've not accounted for some certain areas for collecting data? You see people organize events, for instance, and you want people to come for that event another time. It is not good enough to just have the event and everybody's all hyped up. You want to collect data. People go as far as collecting contact details. As little as that sounds, it's as though you're gathering your database to understand what kind of people have come. But your contact details will not just give you that full information. You need something that is similar to a biodata that can give you the demographic of the people that have attended the event. This tells you two things: what kind of people are interested in your event because they've actually come. The second thing is what kind of people actually heard about your event, because if they've not heard about it, then they wouldn't be there. And then you want to also understand, pick their interest. I see some people create surveys as well, just trying to gather data, quantitative data of people. There are ways that people create survey, and I just laugh, like, this is not exactly going to yield any viable information. What are you trying to achieve with the survey? Are you trying to get people to come back? If that is the objective and the intended outcome is retainership, you want to improve your base of people that attend your event, then it will inform what kind of questions you would ask people, because you know what kind of visualization will tell you and inform your decision making process. So I think the kids will benefit from understanding first that data helps us create new technologies. Because how would you know that people needed Twitter if you don't have data? How would you know that people needed Instagram if you did not have Facebook to begin with? How would you know that people needed TikTok if you did not have some people trying to do things that are predominantly pushed on TikTok on other platforms? So people are struggling to make short posts, but Facebook allows you to anybody can just go there and write a lot of things. And then Twitter was created so you can make very short tweets. And then people are struggling to get in touch with other professionals. LinkedIn came up from Microsoft. So all of these new technologies that are coming up are based on what we already know, which is data. Then also letting them know that in order to understand and utilize this technology, people also have to get the right information, the right way of collecting data. So whether you're looking at collecting data in a structured format, unstructured format, using surveys, using web scraping, whatever it is, people need to understand that there are multiple ways and method of collecting that data. So I think it's very important to just let the kids know and have that data-driven mindset that you need evidence to make decision. You can't just make. There are times where you make decision out of gut feel, but there are most times you want to make decision from evidence. And how do you get evidence? Data gives you that evidence. Being able to actually effectively analyze data and get the right information would provide you with the evidence that, oh, your app is not good enough, or your app is doing well, or your app can benefit from leveraging some new optimization somewhere. So yeah, I think that could work for them. And secondly, or lastly anyway, they should also understand that you don't have to pursue a full-time career in data analytics. Data is going to a place where it permeates everywhere. I mean, it currently has permeated everywhere, yeah? But it's going to a point where you need to be data-driven and data competent to perform your job. Even if you are selling something on the roadside, you need to be data competent in a sense. It doesn't have to mean that you have to write every data. You can notice from trend to say, oh, today that I launched my shop, in the last 3 months I've launched my shop by the roadside, 10 people have come to buy things from me. And out of those 10, I noticed that more of students have come to buy things from me. The next question you ask yourself is, how far am I from the nearest school? Do I need to go to schools on break times? Do I need to do so? People also need to understand that data analytics goes even beyond just having to go on your laptop and all that. Just gathering evidence, anything that can provide you that evidence is already data analysis, and the kids should be able to know that. And so inculcating that mindset in them would help them build the competence, and such that when they go into any field or eventually end up being data analysts, they can do it the right way. Does that make sense?
Very well. Thank you so much. That was insightful. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Okay,
so
can I come in?
Yes, you can.
Okay, let me just introduce myself. Tosin. So I think I have to just give a brief introduction about my background. I'm a nurse, and I'm having a long-term goal of being a healthcare data analyst. So I had to set deadlines for myself, and I literally created my own roadmap, which I started. That's about 2 months ago. I offered some courses on Coursera, on Excel and Power BI. And then I'm planning to move to SQL. But the issue I have now is I don't want to be caught up in the web of just learning. So I keep asking myself, if I'm given, and that's why the first person that spoke actually asked one of my questions. So if I'm given a data set, how do I know what exactly to do about it? And now, if I have my own question right now is, so if I have a data set to work, how exactly am I going to start it? So having to lay my hands on practicing what I'm learning is the issue I'm having. So I don't think there's any problem learning, but I can just be caught up in that same web of trying to just learn this, learn that, learn this, learn that. And eventually I would have learned everything down to visualization, data mining, and whatever you can call it. But I will not be able to practice or be proficient at using my data or analyzing my data. So how do I go about that?
Wow, I think that's a very fantastic question, because I agree with you. A lot of people are caught in that rat chase of you're learning, and you're never coming to, I mean, not to sound very spiritual, but even the Bible says there are people that are ever learning but are never coming to the knowledge of the truth, right? You keep learning different things, but if you are not practicing or putting it to a very viable use, then it's just one of those skill sets that I've learned it before, and then you are actually not using it, which is why I was very careful to say data analysis should become a competence rather than just a profession. A competence would mean that in your nursing profession now, you can utilize data analysis. Now the question is going to lay with you, which means what objectives are you trying to achieve? What data have you collected, or what data do you want to collect? If you've not collected any data, take this as an experiment. Say you are posted somewhere and you just feel, okay, I wonder what kind of people usually come to us for this kind of treatments or require this kind of health attention. And then if it is okay and it is allowed, and maybe under the GDPR or whatever data protection law is there, to collect some information about them, that could be a starting point. Okay, every time a person comes and you are the one giving them injection, maybe you ask them a simple question and ask if they are willing to divulge some information about them, maybe just a 3-question survey, and you give it to them, and based on what you want to get. In this sense, you want to get what kind of people come. So maybe you want to know the gender, you want to know their occupation, and maybe one other thing, maybe their age bracket, so that you can understand what kind of people are often coming for some particular kind of health challenge, and then maybe the health challenge that they've come to address. That could be a starting point. This is you applying data analytics to your work. And then the outcome could be that once you've realized that, oh, actually, for this kind of problem, most people that come in are middle-aged male that are bankers, for instance. This informs you something around your global health initiative or your global health goal of trying to sensitize bankers. So next time, if you've gathered as much data, which is evidence enough, you can boldly create a sensitization initiative to say, okay, we need to reach out to bankers that are of this age and sensitize them about how to avoid falling in the trap of this kind of issue that they are coming to address at the hospital. Does that make sense? I mean, that's like a practical way of applying your data analysis skill in your day-to-day activities. Another way of doing it that is maybe less practical is going to platforms like Kaggle. I don't know if you've heard of Kaggle. They have a huge amount of data sets that you could just go there, download, and say, okay, this data contains a data about blah, 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 blah set of people and stuff. You can ask yourself questions. Okay, what do I want to know from this data set? What should I be informed about from this data set? You write those questions down. That would now be your objective. You can now define that. What would I do with this? Maybe you want to create a blog post. Maybe it's a health database. You want to create a blog post to inform people about a prevailing thing you've seen, or spike up some conversations and get other experts' insight. Maybe other people would comment and tell you what they feel. It'd be like questions like, why is BP very predominant among black females or black males of XYZ age and that are living in blah 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 region? You know, these are ways that you could actually be putting it into practice while you're learning. Otherwise, you would fall in that trap of just learning, and then waiting for one day. Or some of these courses are structured in a way that at the end you do a project, and that project is probably not relevant to what you want to do in the end. It is not useless in the sense that it builds your competence, your capacity. But you should be able to create your own initiative to say, okay, what is relevant to me? What am I trying to know? How do I apply this data competence that I've gained into knowing that thing? Because that's the whole point. Data analysis is a set of skill sets. It's just like a toolbox. You have to now define how you want to use it to move from, okay, I have what can tell me information, to actually getting the information out of that thing. So if you've got a data set, this is your toolbox to just open it up and see what exactly is laying underneath. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. The second part of your answer actually addressed the question more, because it's turning towards me laying my hands on using the skill I've learned, using the tool I've learned. Do you understand that? So it is actually, and I don't know if you can do more to elaborate on that better, having to use my tool to get what I need to get done.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, so when you say like public health or global health, are you referring to analyzing data of like actual biological data like genomes, DNA and all that? I just want to be clear so that I don't veer off.
So I didn't get your question.
I mean, could you elaborate on what kind of data you are intending to analyze at the end of the day? I mean, at the end of the day.
Long term, like I said earlier on, I actually want to say that as a healthcare data analyst. But like you said, I will still have to work on other data sets that doesn't even have anything to do with health.
Yep.
But my issue is having to practice what I'm doing, like put the tools I'm learning to practice.
Yeah.
Because I'm just learning, I'm watching videos, I'm taking projects. But when it comes to me being given a data set now to work on, how exactly will I know what to do with it? So much. Did you get my question at all?
Yes. So you want to know how you go about actually executing data analysis on relevant data in the healthcare space.
Exactly.
Again, yeah, I think that ties back to the question that Ruth asked earlier, which is around how to know what your objectives are. So I think it depends on the goal of actually analyzing. There are people that just try to analyze data because it would appear as though they are doing it mindlessly, because they are not going to use the output to do any reasonable thing at the end of the day. But if the outcome that is intended is to build your skill, then it is fine, because you are analyzing, you are trying your hand on any data set, trying to see, okay, what kind of libraries can I utilize, what kind of visualizations can I come up with, how creative am I, how can I represent the information I want to see, and all that. That is fine. So you don't need any particular objective and utilize the objective at the end of the day. But if you're doing something in the health care or in the health ecosystem, I believe that that's a very critical system, because if you analyze the data wrongly, then you are going to be making a very terrible decision that would affect lives practically. So what I would say in essence is that whoever you're analyzing that data for should be able to derive or create, or at least hint what they are looking to address, what kind of information they are looking for. And then that is what you would go with, unpiece it. Say they want to know what is the HIV prevalence in Africa. They want to know what countries and what kind of people are more HIV positive, and they've given you this data set. The first thing you want to do is, okay, what do I need to get done from this data? What do I need to tick off as milestones? First, I want to clean up this data to ensure that it is clear. I mean, these are things that you would learn that talks about exploratory data analytics and all that.
Hey, sorry to cut it short. I think I have a better way to ask my question.
Okay.
Like I was engaged, I was talking to someone earlier this week. And the person was telling me about me having to build my portfolio in data analytics. And my point was, I just started, like I've not even worked on anything. So what exactly is the portfolio I have to put out there? Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. I think your question is quite different from what I thought you were asking earlier.
So do you understand the question? Okay.
Yeah, to build your portfolio, really, it's about how many projects you've done. If I were you and you have a very focused target of the healthcare system, I would be creating data visualization dashboards on data sets, if possible, those that are related to health, and then have them up on maybe you mentioned you were doing Power BI. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It could be that you're creating your portfolio by hosting it on things like GitHub. I don't know how conversant you are with GitHub, or you can register with Kaggle. That is very handy. I mean, Kaggle is very flexible and broad. So you could register with Kaggle and host maybe if you are doing your work on a notebook using maybe Python, or you've created a visualization, you could save it on Kaggle to say, okay, visualization showing HIV prevalence in Africa, so blah blah blah. You could put some notes beside it. So that is one item on your portfolio already. You could keep doing multiple projects that you just pick up ad hocly or wherever you find them, and you'll be hosting them there and sharing it. One thing I advise people to do is, where do you go to share about your professional development with other professionals that may or may not be interested in collaborating with you? The best bet is LinkedIn. If you go on LinkedIn and you've created maybe you've given yourself an accountability framework of creating one data dashboard per month. You could share it on Kaggle, you could do it on Medium, or post it on LinkedIn such that other data analysts can comment on it to say, okay, you could do better doing this, or they actually laud your efforts, or just have people to see that you're active in that space. That's another way of creating your portfolio. So aside from hosting your portfolio, you want to create that visibility, credibility, and collaborative opportunities for other professionals in the data space. Does that make sense? So another aspect you could consider is also working with doing like volunteer internship or actual paid internship with organizations that are actually doing stuff in healthcare, so such that the data you'll be working on for them is relevant to where you are heading. Because if you go and do your internship with a fintech, it may be relevant as a competence, but it's probably not going to form the baseline of, okay, it's in healthcare and all that. So two things: you could create Kaggle account or GitHub or Medium, create these data visualization dashboards as you can, and make sure that they are closely related at least to health. Post them there, then talk about those things and post maybe a screenshot or a snapshot about it on LinkedIn with other professionals to share your idea, to tell what you've done, and then get some people's feedback and insights from that. That way you could actually create that you could create that visibility and portfolio that you're asking about. Does that make sense?
Yes, you answered my question perfectly well. Thank you so much. Please, are we going to have the recording?
Yes, I would make the access available to everyone.
Are they free or paid sites or paid platforms?
They are free. Kaggle is free, Medium is free. These are free platforms. You can get some of your data sets from these platforms, work on them, and put it back. You could even enter into a challenge, like a data kind of hackathon, where people are actually trying to analyze a particular data set. Did you have any other question you wanted to ask?
None for now.
Fantastic. All right. So at this point, I think I'm just going to draw it to a close. And thank you guys for coming on board and for those wonderful questions. Hopefully, I've been able to give you my perspective to them. You shouldn't hold it as the absolute truth. Of course, you should go research and see. It's just for you to start thinking in the right direction. See what I mean? But yeah, thank you so much for joining and asking your questions. That was great.
Thank you for the time, George. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.